A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Imam arrived at the mosque. He lit a candle and walked towards the grave of the Holy Prophet. The thought that this might be the last time he would see the grave filled him with sorrow. He sat by the grave, put his cheek on it, and began to sob. I come to say goodbye to you, O grandfather. I have to leave Medina to save Islam. Pray that Allah grants me patience. Imam then went to the grave of his mother, Bibi Fatima Zahra. He was unable to speak. He kissed the grave and said a silent farewell. Imam began to walk away. Bibi Fatima's voice was heard from the grave. Khuda Hafiz, my son, go. I too will be with you. After saying goodbye to the graves of his grandfather and his mother, Imam Hussain went to Bibi Zainab's house. Bibi Zainab was Imam's sister and was married to their cousin, Hazrat Abdullah bin Jafar ibn Abu Talib. After exchanging greetings with Hazrat Abu Abdullah, Imam Hussain advised his cousin of what had happened and what he had decided. Hazrat Abdullah tried to persuade Imam not to leave Medina, but Imam insisted that it was the only way to save Islam. He then requested Hazrat Abdullah to permit Bibi Zainab to accompany him. Hazrat Abdullah looked at his wife and said, Bismillah. Bibi Zainab said farewell to her husband and her two sons, On and Muhammad. The brother and sister walked to Imam's house. When all the men who had accompanied Imam Hussain to the governor's palace got back, the ladies came to know about the journey. Hazrat Abbas, Hazrat Ali Akbar, Hazrat Qasim, and all the young men got busy with the preparations. Bibi Fatima Sughra watched. She was lying in bed, too ill even to get up. No one was saying anything about her going. She decided to wait till her father's return. Bibi Fatima Sughra was Imam Hussein's daughter. She was about 8 years old. She lay on the bed, praying that her father would agree to take her. How could she possibly live alone? How could she survive without Asghar? Ever since he was born, she spent all her time next to Asghar's little bed, playing with him. Now he had begun to recognize faces and smile whenever he saw Sughra. Soon he would be talking, and she was anxious to hear him call out her name. Ya Allah, Sughra murmured, I hope I would not be left alone in Medina. Just then she heard her father's footsteps. She quickly wiped away the tears from her eyes, propped herself up into a sitting position, and put on a brave smile to convince her father that she was well enough to travel. Imam Hussain sat on the bed, put his hand on Sughra's head, and said, When you were born, my dear, I named you after my mother, Fatima Zahra. You know that your grandmother was also known as Sabira, which means the patient one. I want you also to be a Sabira and agree to stay in Medina with al-Baneen and Salma. Will you do that? What could Sughra say? She nodded her head, fighting back her tears. Imam kissed her and left the room. Whenever the children of the Ahlul Bayt were troubled by anything, they took their problem to Hazrat Abbas. Sughra thought of her dear uncle, smiled hopefully, and sent for Abbas. Surely he would find a way to solve her problem. Abbas came in. He was accompanied by Hazrat Ali Akbar. Sughra looked at them and said, I know how much you two love me. How can you then leave me and go away? If I die, who will bury me? They explained to her that she was too ill to travel and promised her that they would come and fetch her as soon as they had settled somewhere. Bibi Fatima Sughra said, I will accept that, as I do not wish to disobey my father. I will be brave and stay here. She looked lovingly at her brother and added, Ali Akbar, promise me one thing though. When after you get married and return to Medina and find Sughra gone, promise that you and your bride will visit my grave and recite Fatiha. Akbar and Abbas could not control their tears as they said goodbye. At dawn, the caravan departed. Supported by Salma on one side and Baneen on the other, Sughra waved goodbye. It was difficult to part with Asghar, and both Imam Hussain and Bibi Rapab had to hold and console Sughra as she kissed her little brother goodbye. Until they turned the corner, Imam kept looking back. He would bravely smile and wave to his daughter. Hazrat Ali Akbar, of course, could not do even that, because he was unable to control his tears. As soon as they were out of sight, Imam Hussain stopped his horse and began to sob. It is always so very difficult and so very sad for parent and child to part. Days passed into months. Sughra would spend her days in the mosque or visiting al-Baneen, Hazrat Abbas's mother. Ramadan passed. Eid was a difficult day for Sughra. She kept on thinking of Asghar and Akbar and her darling sister Bibi Sakina. Then came Muharram. For some reason, Sughra's restlessness increased, and one night she got up. She felt a little thirsty. She filled a cup with water, and as soon as she brought the cup to her lips, Sughra stared at the water and screamed. The cup fell out of her hands. Salma came running. "What is it, Sughra?" Sughra was shaking with fear. She ran into the arms of Salma. "Oh, grandmother!" she cried, pointing at the cup. "As I lifted the cup to my mouth, I saw Ali Asghar's reflection in the water. I saw him spread out his little arms towards me, and then I heard him speak. He was saying, 'Alatash, ya ukhti Fatima,' I am thirsty, O my sister Fatima." This was the night of 9 Muharram, Shab-e Ashura.